What's up guys, Eric here with At Home in the Future. We check out the latest gear and gadgets for life's adventures. Hey, if you dig this video, make sure you hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more stuff like this. Alright, so I want to let you know right up front that I reached out to the folks at Rad Power Bikes and they did provide the bike for this review. All my opinions, everything you're going to hear in this review are honest. Let's get to it. So if you've been looking at e-bikes, you've probably run into Rad Power Bikes before. And if you looked at a Rad Power Bikes bike, you've probably checked out the Rad Rover. The Rad Rover is the most popular e-bike out there. I feel like it's the one I see absolutely everywhere. Long story short, I've always wanted to check one of these out. Now we had an awesome experience with our Rad Mini 4. You can go check out that review on our channel as well. But after having that smaller folding bike that had some smaller 20-inch wheels, I wanted to try out like the big boy, the big kahuna, the bike that everybody's always talking about. So this is going to be a review of the Rad Rover 6. Now the 6 is a brand new model to the Rad Rover line. It kind of reinvents everything about this bike, adds a lot of new features to it, adds a lot of improvements and refinements to the UI, so a really cool bike to check out. So let's dive in and talk about whether this bike lives up to the hype. So the unboxing experience for the Rad Rover 6 was surprisingly nice, and putting it together was really actually pretty simple. Now this is a big bike. It came in a big box. The box itself probably weighed 90 or 100 pounds. Big, kind of something you'll drag into your garage after you get it. But it features that cool rad design. They do these big murals across that your kids can color if they're into that sort of thing. But actually getting the bike out was fairly simple. Again, it's heavy. It's a two-person job or a one-person job if you're nuts. Probably not recommended, but I was able to get it out of there. And really, all in all, after looking up their YouTube videos and following their instructions, I probably had it together in about 30 minutes. It's actually a little bit simpler to put together than the Rad Mini 4 that I assembled late last year. So really good experience, lots of easy to follow instructions on their YouTube channel. I probably could have done it faster had I not been really meticulous and double checking and triple checking stuff. When you're going to be riding something around, you want to make sure you're putting it together right. I also ordered the rack for the bike, and they also had instructions and videos on how to put that on. That only took me maybe 5 minutes all said and done. So very simple experience putting it together. Let's jump in and take a closer look at the bike, and I'll show you all the features and all the things that make the Rad Rover 6 special. So this is our Rad Rover 6. This is the white step-through model. They also have a full frame model if you're into that sort of thing, but I just kind of dug the look at this, and it's easier for my wife to ride as well. So let's go through all the different components here, and I'll just kind of walk you through starting at the bottom. We have these nice Kenda 26-inch tires, 4 inches wide, big and beefy. But really nice. They have kind of this trademark reflective sidewall on both sides. It's a trademark for Rad Power Bikes. So if you're going through the campground, you see two big reflective wheels. It's probably a Rad Power Bike. Really a sharp look. And this model also comes with fenders and everything built in, so that's not an aftermarket thing you have to get, but really cool accessory to have right off the bat. And I even like down here just the little simple orange accents in this I think are really sharp. Big beefy shocks are a part of this. This feels great going over curves, going over you know, minor jumps and things like that. It can handle pretty much anything I threw at it and feels super stable out there. A big thing that you'll notice with this model, and one of the huge upgrades for the Rad Rover 6 Plus versus the old Rad Rovers and everything, are the hydraulic disc brakes. And basically it's just an upgraded component that your stopping power just feels a lot more confident, feels a lot more immediate. A really nice upgrade to have. So nice simple pedals, feel great, reflectors built in and everything, pretty standard. All these fat tire e-bikes seem to have these giant motorcycle style kickstands, which are great. It's a heavy bike, about 70 pounds, but that definitely supports the weight of it. You'll notice our model here, I actually installed the rear rack. This was an accessory that was available from the Rad Power website. So I grabbed that knowing that I'd probably be toting stuff around the campground and attaching stuff on here and all that stuff. So really simple to attach, just a few nuts and bolts here along different connector points. Really easy to get onto, which is a surprise. Some other bikes in the past have had trouble getting accessories like this on, but this is machined well, really simple to add on there. So you'll notice as we go around the bike here, this is the rear fender, which actually has a tail light built into it. So when the bike's on and you tap on the brakes, this will light up a brighter shade of red. When you're just driving around, it's kind of a nice, almost a daytime running light, or I guess a nighttime running light, to make you a little bit more visible. But that's a really nice feature that's integrated into the fender itself, which is a nice touch too. There's also a space on the rear rack here and on the back there where if you want to get, there's like a Rad tail light that has a Rad logo that's pretty cool. So you can see all the gearing system and everything down here. This is the new 750 watt gear hub motor that's new to this Rad Rover 6 Plus. It'll probably make it to other bikes in the Rad Power line, I would assume. So we'll see. We didn't go over the battery on the other side, but that's a big feature of this too. instead of having this big battery that's kind of clunky and hanging off, you have this battery that's partially integrated into the frame. Around the other side, we'll go back over here so you can see that. So around this side, this is where your key will go if you need to pop the battery off. It's also a charging port for your battery right here, but whether you want to leave it connected or pop it off, it's really easy to charge this thing. And also the charger that comes with it is surprisingly nice. That's one of those Apple-like touches where instead of just the same generic charger that I feel like comes with every e-bike these days, it's actually on brand. It has an orange cable. It's just a really nice little unit that even includes a little mounting bracket for the wall. You'll notice built into the battery here, we have a power level indicator that's nice and bright. Now mine's fully charged right now, and out here in the sun, you may not be able to see it that much, but I like that it gives you all these different levels of charge so you know if it's 3/4 charge or half charge. Some of them just give you different colors to indicate just vaguely the charge levels. That's a nice thing to have here. You can just see kind of how the frame works up close. So for the seat, which is actually really comfortable, it's really easy to raise this up and down just by pulling this clamp out and closing it again. Again, if you have a wife that's a little shorter than you, like I do, it's really easy to lower the level for her and then raise it back up for me later on. Not a big deal at all. Let's check out a few more things here. So the headlight, which will come on. We'll turn on the bike here in a second. I'll show you how that looks. It has that classic Rad Power Bikes halo and little magnifier in there, and it projects kind of a squarish light onto the road there. But let's take a look at this awesome UI, which is probably one of the big reasons you're looking at this bike here. To power this on, we just hit this big orange power button, which, by the way, look at these big buttons. That's really nice, especially if you have gloves on. It's just really easy to hit these. So let's turn it on. And you may see some blinking on the screen. That's not actually in person, it's just the refresh rate of the screen here. But you can see the pedal assist levels and your battery level here, and it also will tell you if your headlight's on. So if we go back around the front here, it's kind of got a daytime running light mode built in by default, which just looks sharp. It helps you be a little bit more visible, but that's how that looks. So like I mentioned, a big upgrade for the Rad Rover 6 Plus is this dual screen system. So you have your pedal assist here on the left, and then you have this nice big screen over here that shows the amount of power you're using, a trip odometer, a clock, or a trip timer like I have here. And also your speed is built here. So these are shown big and bright where you can see them. And more importantly, it's really easy to tell what pedal assist mode you're on over here. So no more confusion about jumping on the bike and it's on pedal assist 4 or 5 or something and you just take off like a rocket. It's really easy to tell which pedal assist level you're on here, and really easy to change these. Just tap the big buttons. Couldn't be a more simple UI. Again, really, really nice. All right, wrapping up our overview of the bike here. Here's the shifter over here, which is just kind of your typical thumb shifter that seems to come with a lot of these. So press the plus button to go up, push this out to shift down. It's really easy to use. You also have something that Rad Power is kind of known for, and that's their twist throttle. Now the bike's on right now, so I'm not really going to twist that too hard, but it has that really fun motorcycle feel that you like. Some people may prefer like the push button throttle, but these are always nice. And kind of a nice faux leather grip on each side of the handles. And also the braking system in this has these really comfortable brake handles here that are, again, really responsive to those hydraulic disc brakes. So a lot of fun to ride these things. Let's get into what that's like to actually ride it. We've talked about assembly, we've gone over all these different components of the bike, so let's get to the part of the review that you actually probably care about. Is it an awesome bike? Does it live up to the Rad Power Bikes name? And I'd say absolutely yes. This thing is a blast to drive. Let's go over some pros and cons of all the things I think you probably want to know about this bike. The first pro I want to mention is that this bike is very capable and very powerful. I've driven this thing all over for the last month, lots of greenways and trails and lots of different neighborhoods, just exploring all around our house and all around our area here. And if there's one thing this thing excels at, it's actually going up hills and inclines. So you may think, huge heavy bike, big thick tires, going up big hills and everything, it may take a little, I don't know, it may hesitate a little bit when you're trying to go up those big hills. But that's the one thing I've been really surprised about, is more than any other e-bike I've tried, I feel like that new 750 watt geared hub motor really has a lot of extra punch behind it, especially over some of the big hills and neighborhoods around our area. So there are actually some really steep inclines. And although you may not be able to tell as much on video just because of the way the camera's angled, this thing, if you put it on a pretty high pedal assist or even just use the throttle, has more than enough power to just power through all those things, and really doesn't use all that much battery doing it. The Rad Rover 6 does have 5 levels of pedal assist, and along with that power, something I really appreciated was that those 5 levels of pedal assist are actually very distinct. So I've ridden on some other e-bikes where they claim to have 5 different levels too, but really like 1 and 2 are a little bit different, but 3, 4, and 5 you can't really distinguish between. But with this bike, you can tell a big difference jumping from 1 to 2 and 2 to 3 and so on. Each of them has a distinct use case and a distinct level of power. So that's something I really appreciated driving this thing around. Pro number 2 would be the Rad Rover 6's new kind of revamped UI. When we went over the bike at the beginning, you saw there's a separate screen for pedal assist and a separate screen for like your speedometer and power usage and all that stuff. That really makes a huge difference. What's really nice is the big meaty buttons on that pedal assist. So whether you're wearing gloves or whether you're just trying to make a quick decision on the road, it takes just a quick tap of the thumb to change those pedal assist levels. And rather than that being hidden away at the corner of a UI as a small little icon, you have these big bulky fat numbers where it's really easy to tell which level of pedal assist you're on. It's really great. Also, when you're powering through those big hills we talked about earlier, it's got a little power usage meter at the very bottom where when you hit the gas, it's almost like looking at your car's tachometer where you can see what your RPM is. This works in much the same way where when you're really hitting the throttle or hitting the high pedal assist modes, you can see exactly how much battery assist you're using. It kind of fades out. You're probably not going to be able to see it on our video clips very much because of the angle of the camera, but it's a very cool UI that makes it very simple to understand how hard you're taxing the battery or how little you're using the battery. It's a really nice feature. That UI makes a pretty big difference with this bike. Pro number 3 would be just the nice clean look of this bike. I really like the angles on it. We chose that white model. It's also available in kind of a gunmetal gray and a full frame model. We have the step through model here with us, which I really like because me or my wife can ride it. But it's a very clean, very refined design. You can tell this thing has been through 6 big iterations, but the fenders come standard. Something that's really nice that you kind of miss if you're not paying attention or not comparing it to other e-bikes is all the cables are cleanly tucked away and kind of go through the frame where the battery is. And that's just a big deal just from an optic standpoint or just from a cool factor standpoint. Like when you're investing in a bike like this, you want it to look cool. You want it to kind of have that campground street cred. And the Rad Rover 6 definitely has that. So that's something I appreciate. It's a really clean, thoughtful design. Another perk of that design is Pro number 4, and that's how expandable and how many different accessories you can get for this bike. So one thing about Rad Power Bikes, again, they're a leading brand. They've been around for a while, but they have what seems like an almost endless number of accessories you can get for these. Like I mentioned earlier, I've got the rear rack on mine. You can also get a front rack. You can get all sorts of different bags, different tail light that has the Rad logo, upgraded headlight, all these different things. So no matter what you want to use your Rad Rover for, there's probably an accessory for that, and that's a big win. All right, the final pro I want to get to here before we mention a few really tiny little cons is just the giant support network behind these bikes. So when you purchase one of these, they give you a full 1-year warranty, but they also have a huge support section of their website for every model of bike, for almost every accessory. If you have a question, it's probably already answered online, but also phone support, email support. They respond super quick. That's one perk of getting a really well-established brand like this and just an awesome bike in general is that you know you can trust it, you know that it's going to last you a while, and if you have a problem, you know there's always going to be people there to help. Okay, I've given you my pros. You know I love riding this thing around. You know I love how it's built and how expandable it is. So are there any issues with it? Just a few minor things, and some of them aren't really exclusive to this bike, but this category of bikes in general. The first con that I'll mention here is just the size of this thing, and make no mistake, this is a giant bike. Even though this is the step-through bike and it's made to accommodate riders, I believe, 5'4" all the way to 6'2". It's easier to get on and off of, but it is still giant. It still weighs 70 pounds. It still has giant tires. And this is actually almost a little bit too big for my short bed truck that I have. With previous bikes before, I've been able to just kind of slide them in there and turn the wheel and prop it up against the side. This one is so large, from the end of one wheel to the end of the other wheel, it's so big that it's hard to get in there without trying to either get an official rack or some sort of system to pop it in a right way. So I've got to figure out a way to cart it around in our scenario. You may already have a rack, but no getting into this. This is not a compact bike. This is huge. Now there's perks to being huge. It's awesome. It's confident on the road and everything, but it is very large. Know that going into it. The one other con I'll mention here is probably something really stupid that I know I'll get yelled at about in the comments, and that's the bell on this thing. So I know it's just a bell that's built into the bike. You can get aftermarket accessories and all that stuff, but the way this little bell works, I don't know if it's a supply chain thing or if this is like the intended design for this, but it's almost like you flick a little spring to sound the bell instead of push a button or click a lever or that sort of thing. I just found that to be really unintuitive when riding and stuff too. I feel like I have to stop and make my brain work to figure out how to sound the bell, and that's really not what you want when you have somebody you're trying to let know that you're coming or trying to get around. You don't want to stop and kind of panic for a second when you're trying to alert somebody in a hurry. So again, dumb problem, easy thing to solve, but that's if we're talking about concerns or things that I don't like about it. The bell is probably my #1 annoyance. All right, so that's it. You've heard my short list of pros and cons. I guess the big question is, would I recommend this bike? This would be no surprise to you if you've watched the rest of the review, but I really love this thing. It is an awesome bike. To be honest, this is probably like the iPhone of e-bikes. It comes from an awesome brand, has a ton of support behind it, has a huge ecosystem. It's not the most expensive or nice e-bike out there. It's not the cheapest or most affordable e-bike out there, but it sits right in the middle of that scale at $19.99, where you're getting all these premium components. You're getting 6 generations of designs behind it and forming this design. You're getting fenders built in, that 750 watt motor, an awesome new UI, just a really well thought out machine that if you're just going to get one e-bike, or if you're researching e-bikes for the very first time, this is probably like the bike for you, especially if you want a fat tire e-bike. Now, if you want a road bike or something that's more special use, or something that needs to fold and go somewhere, there are other e-bikes out there, and Rad Power Bikes has a few awesome models of those as well. But as far as just a general awesome fat tire e-bike goes, I don't think you can do any better than the Rad Rover 6. We've had a ton of fun driving this thing around, and I couldn't recommend it more. So that's it for this review. If you want to go grab one of these for yourself, there's always awesome deals over at Rad Power Bikes website. If you want to use the link on the screen, it really helps the channel out a ton. It'll give it a small referral credit at no cost to you, so I'd appreciate that. But definitely recommend this bike. I think you'll have a ton of fun with it. Hey, if you like this review, make sure you hit that like button, and don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more stuff like this. We'll see you next time.